I'm Jason Hartschuh, OSUE Extension Ag and Natural Resources Educator in Crawford County. 2019 provided many unique opportunities and challenges. One of those challenges was the number of acres that were winter killed due to freeze injury of alfalfa. An opportunity that came about due to the amount of prevent plant ground was the opportunity to survey various cover crops to help determine their forage quality and their ability to cover the ground. Through this survey of over 200 different samples, we found that most crops did an excellent job of covering the soil as long as they were planted at a high enough seeding rate. On the other hand, there were some large differences in forage quality and tonnage between these various crops. Summer annuals, or warm season crops, did the best job at providing the highest dollar return per acre. They weren't always the most nutrient-dense crops, but because of the increased tonnage they were able to produce, they returned the highest dollars per acre. Corn led the charge, followed by forage sorghum, sorghum sudan, soybeans, and teff. Some of these corn crops were planted with drills in 7.5-inch rows. Corn was also occasionally let grow all the way to 102 days. Cool season crops and winter annuals did not do quite as well, having lower tonnage and lower dollars per acre. Some of these cool season crops did not even germinate and grow when they were planted in early July, and when planted in late July, they germinated very poorly and did not have a vigorous growth. There were a few mixes in this study, which was very unique, and let us look at the opportunities to potentially take some of the cover crop mixes that are on the market and considered to be excellent soil builders and use those for livestock. Maybe not so much for baling, but for grazing. Through this study, we looked at the energy values that different crops produced. The dark green line is the maintenance requirements for an average mid-gestation beef cow in Ohio. Most crops met these energy needs except for spring triticale, teff, forage sorghum, and peas. These crops were close but require supplementation of extra energy in order to maintain our cow herd. Quite a few crops, though, would need some supplementation for a beef cow during lactation. The light green line represents a beef cow's requirements during lactation, while the dark red line is sheep maintenance and the peach line is sheep lactation. While a lot of these crops fell short at meeting their needs during lactation for both sheep and beef, they are still excellent crops to provide the forage resources that we need for these livestock and can easily be supplemented to meet those energy requirements. Protein was very similar to energy in that most crops met the protein requirements of a beef cow mid-gestation, but even more crops met her needs during lactation and for sheep during maintenance. But quite a few crops would need protein supplementation as represented by the peach line for sheep during lactation. Another study that we conducted looking at these same forage crops but under the exact same management conditions instead of the various conditions based on farmer practices was a study to look at the tonnage and quality at some of our research stations. The crops we looked at, corn, sorghum, teff, soybeans, oats, millet, and peas, showed a distinct trend, with corn leading the way, producing the most tons, even when harvested at 60 days of growth. A challenge that we had for some of our producers growing forage oats this year was the amount of crown rust. In order to help manage this, we looked at what would happen if we provided a fungicide treatment to these oats crops. As you can see, the leaf on the right compared to the leaf on the left, the leaf on the right that was treated with fungicide had very little disease present. While we didn't see a difference in tonnage from the fungicide treatment, we saw improved quality, which increased the dollar value return per acre to the oats that was treated with fungicide over the untreated. We also found that nitrogen is an important factor when growing oats. When oats was harvested at 45 days, we saw a significant increase in yield by providing 46 pounds of nitrogen compared to no nitrogen at all. We did not really see an increase by providing an additional 46 units for a total of 92 units to the tonnage. But we did see an increase, whether that oats was harvested at 45 days or 60 days, to providing more nitrogen to increase crude protein. This in turn increased the dollar value return per acre over the cost of that extra nitrogen by making that oats more nutritious. If you want to look at all the different studies that we did and all the different nutritional values of the crops that were in our studies, visit go.osu.edu/forage2019.